All right, let's go ahead and start. All right. First of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
This is a question that I would love to dive in with you because I seen it a second time and I noticed the number 1111 on a couple of the clocks
Right.
in the social services office it's 1111 on the clock, and then when he beats the time card punching thing up, it's 1111. Can you talk about, was that intentional?
It's a coincidence.
Yeah. But what were you? Do you mind me asking what that meant?
I know. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a coincidence that it's happened. That's 2 times. Is there another time too?
I saw 1040 another time. That was it.
Yeah, no.
But 1111.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
That's very interesting. I'm fascinated by your choice of how to create Gotham. We've seen Gotham a number of different ways in the Nolan films, in the Burton films, even prevalent on television, but we've never seen it this way. Talk to me about just your idea of approaching the aesthetic of Gotham, because to me, it's the first time we got to see it pre-Batman's story.
Right.
And Batman's not in your story, but we almost know for him to be born, the city has to become an absolute cancer, like a hellhole.
Right.
And that's what you kind of showed us.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for us, it was all about creating a city on the brink, so to speak. Mark Friedberg, my production designer, and myself, and a ton of the crew, we really worked hard at coming up with a Gotham that's, of course, different than the other movies, but really spoke to a broken down city on the brink. And you're right in that this is something Bruce Wayne's going to grow up in, and something he's ultimately going to probably have to clean up.
Right.
So, yeah, there was a lot of thought put into it. And we shot practically, as you know, in New York, on the streets. We obviously did some CGI world building, to extend things and erase things you have to erase, satellite dishes and certain skylines and things, all kinds of stuff that's like every freaking corner has a Chase Bank. You got to change that,
Joaquin mentioned that while he was doing the stairs scene, the dance down, the teenagers were in the windows giving them the finger and shouting.
Yeah,
that is hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I had to balance it out, we got a lot more benefit of shooting on the street, but the pain of it was not nothing, I mean, you saw it last year with all these paparazzi photos showing up online. You guys probably ran them. I'm teasing. But, a normal movie set, you don't see the Joker look doesn't get revealed by some long lens paparazzi shot on 124th Street.
You were never going to green screen it or
we just wanted it to feel grounded. I think I said this to you the other day. We wanted to run everything through a realistic lens and have everything feel as grounded as possible. And part of that was stripping away all the green screen and stripping away all the stages that you shoot on and just taking it to the street, so to speak. But with that, you get a lot of the nonsense, like teenagers giving him the finger while he's acting.
And Larry's cinematography truly is amazing. We discussed this the other day. I mean, there's shots where he's running down the street and that camera's just moving beautifully with him. I find it interesting how you open the film, specifically the choice as a director to give us a scene and then cut to that really cool shot with the awesome font that you use for the Warner Brothers element. Can you talk about what decision process you go through when you go, okay, I'm going to open with a scene, then hit it with these credits?
When you say hit it with hit it with Warner Brothers Presents and
and like it's written like yellow.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, and then talking, not to be too technical, like those titles we filmed out on film and laid them back in, so they felt. So if you notice, they even jitter a little, like when you watch an old movie, because the registration pins are kind of a little jittery. So the title Joker and then Warner's Presents, a Village Roadshow production, all that stuff was filmed out on film and put back into the movie to feel like film titles. But okay, not to go down a wormhole about titles. But that opening thing, really, we opened the movie with this old school Warner Brothers logo to tell you that
the 3 little red lines.
Yeah, and
cool.
What's funny is you don't realize nowadays, but when you watch old movies, that's what it was, right? It starts with the logo and then the movie starts. Right. Nowadays, there's 4 or 5 logos. It's like NASCAR because they have all these co-financing companies that put money into movies because movies are so expensive and they all want their logo on the front. So I had to go to all those co-financing companies and DC, by the way, because DC gets their logo.
Right.
And I was like, please do me this favor. I don't want your logo on the movie, not because I don't respect what you did and I love the company and you guys are a big help, but I want it to feel like this movie came out in 1979.
Right.
I just want that old school Warner Brothers logo and the movie to start. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they were cool and gracious enough. DC was awesome. I thought DC would be the hardest. They were actually the easiest. And they got it. Their logos are at the end of the credits. Great, whatever. But that was a big give from all three of those companies. Because it's not nothing. And anyway, so you see that old Warner's logo, and then boom, we're in this big wide shot, and you meet, I always think character introductions are important in movies. Obviously, we take it something we think about when we put these movies together. And just seeing Joaquin in that mirror doing all that stuff, it's a guy who is clearly searching for an identity, searching for who he is. Is he really this happy? Is he really this sad? Is my life really a comedy, or is it a tragedy? That's what that is before we boom cut out to the
Perfectly open.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool opening, and we have the benefit in that, not to talk too much, but it is a podcast.
No, we want you to talk.
Okay,
Please.
the benefit in that is playing that local Gotham news radio underneath it, which gets the audience very immediately up to speed of where we are, when it is, although it doesn't say the year, it's not now, and the conditions in Gotham. We talk about a garbage strike. We hear residents being interviewed on the street saying it smells and it's this and it's oppressive and all that stuff.
You mentioned
all that work getting done in about a minute, and it's just like, oh, this is not the normal comic book movie.
You mentioned the year real quick, and I know that you don't want it to be specifically time-stamped.
I'll tell you the truth.
But I find it interesting that you have Zorro and the Gay Blade and
yeah.
Blowout, which are both specifically 81.
Yes, the truth is it's 81. The reason I keep saying late 70s, early 80s is because I don't want to deal with somebody on the internet which is going to come and going, that car was actually not out until 1984. Why is that car? So I always go, it's the late 70s, early 80s, and I only say because I don't want to deal with all the
Which
sticklers.
movie were the Waynes seeing that night?
The Waynes were seeing Zorro the Gay Blade.
Were they really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we looked up, and that's one of the most wild plot lines
I know.
I've ever heard of in my entire life.
But yeah, so on that marquee, it was Zorro the Gay Blade, which came out in 81, and as you said, Blowout, which
Yeah.
also
Palma,
came
man.
out. Yeah.
How different is this movie if De Niro says he doesn't want to do it?
Oh, I mean, it would suck for me because I worship De Niro and he's great in the movie, but we would have found another actor to do it.
Okay.
I mean, not to be cold-blooded, but I mean, every decision, every time an actor says no and somebody else does it, I think the movie's entirely different.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't like to imagine it. It would be different,
Right.
but yeah, it
Only
yeah.
because it's, you admittedly borrows from a lot of his classic
Oh
films.
yeah, but I mean, by then we didn't put De Niro in it because of that.
Oh,
we
really?
Put,
Okay.
Well, meaning
Oh, wow.
it wasn't like, oh, this will allow us to do that. Is what I
Right,
mean.
right,
That's
right.
not why I put De Niro in it.
Sure.
We did put De Niro in it because it was definitely a nod to King of Comedy.
Now,
I just thought
does
it'd
he
be
bristle
fun.
at all at that? Does he think like, it's too self-referential, I don't want
No,
to...
he dug it. He
dug
got
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he got
Is
it.
that surreal
And to
for
be
you?
honest with you, I think if you talk to him or Martin Scorsese, and I don't want to speak for either of them, but I'm just going to guess that the attention that's been given to King of Comedy, which is, as far as a Scorsese goes, is maybe one of his most overlooked movies, and it's brilliant. I don't think it's the worst thing that I have 22-year-old journalists coming up to me saying, Jesus, I watched this King of Comedy movie, never even heard of it last night, blew my mind. Like, I think that's awesome. If I'm Martin Scorsese, to have this gem that a lot of people hadn't seen suddenly being talked about a lot, I think it's cool.
As somebody who you just said you worship De Niro, to be behind that camera, directing him in sequences that are kind of referencing King of Comedy, like especially specifically the TV section element of it. What is that like for you to be behind that camera? I know you're making a movie, you're directing a film, you have a vision in mind. Do you ever stop and go, what the heck?
It wasn't so much in reference to King of Comedy. It was really, for me, I think he's the greatest of all time actor, literally the greatest of all time. So for me, even if I was directing Meet the Fockers, I'd be like, I cannot believe I have Robert De Niro here. Really like.
Do you geek out?
Yeah, I did. I did when I first met him. I went to his office and I said to him, look, I'm a big fan. I don't want to be a jerk, but I got to talk to you for like 10 minutes just about stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'll be a grown man, I'll be a professional, and I can direct you like a colleague. I can do that, but I have to get like 10 minutes out of my system. And he goes, oh, all right. And then it turned into an hour.
Okay.
And I mean, literally, we're talking about, I think, Raging Bull for an hour.
Are you asking him questions?
Yeah, I'm just going like, what about this and why that and da-da-da. I mean, like, you know.
Is that your seminal one, Raging Bull?
Yeah, I mean, they all are, but I don't know why. I think he had an image of Jake LaMotta in his office that I started with, and for some reason, we just went in that direction. But I could have done 6 hours on Casino. I could do any of it, right? So I just got deep with him. I mean, like deep into his stuff for an hour, and then finally I was like, okay, thank you. Now we can talk about this, and we did. And then, you know, but one day, you know, I will approach him again and just do like a 3-hour session fantasy camp.
So great. We know we got to wrap up, so we'll do 2 quick more, and then I guess is that okay? One more. Okay, go ahead.
One more. Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Well, we talked to Joaquin about the makeup process and the final look, and you joke about that. Like, we were all so curious about how is he going to look, and the image gets out. That was the first thing you put on Instagram. You know, the first official thing that you revealed was him turning into the face, and I think that was the moment where so many people were like, "What is this going to be?" And then you showed it, and they were like, "Oh shit, I'm in." You know, that looks great. So can you talk about the process of just coming up with the final look of what your Joker makeup was going to be? Because Joaquin said it was like photoshopped on him before.
Yeah, of course. We were doing these concept drawings with this guy Hugh Scioti, who's a beautiful concept illustrator in New York that Mark Friedberg, our production designer, introduced me to. And so Hugh and I were just going back and forth, and Mark, about what he looks like. We know it's a big deal, and you know, but it's also inspired by the idea that he's a clown, you know, that his look came from his clown look, from his job that he has at the beginning of the movie. So, you know, a lot of the reactions we got on the internet was very much like, man, Joker doesn't have a red nose. Why does he have a red nose? And we just had to sort of put our head down and ignore it and say, this is our Joker and this is why it's like that, and because he's inspired by clown. But we didn't do as many versions as you might think to settle on that. Hugh and Mark and I really found this look pretty quickly. I mean, we probably messed with his wardrobe more than his makeup, weirdly, only because when we saw it, we all were like, oh shit, that's cool, that's the thing. So it came together pretty quick, and then we brought in Joaquin and Nikki Lederman, our makeup girl, put it on his face, because it's different Photoshop than on a face. And then I still remember, I still have pictures on my phone. I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool. And we just kind of stuck with that.
That's amazing. Well, we're wrapping up. I just want to say thank you for doing this.
Thanks for sticking around.
Thank you for this movie.
Late.
You're not late at all. Thank you for this movie. Thank you for making. We've been talking about this for weeks now, and I think you truly have directed a masterpiece.
Oh, thank you.
And I just want to say thank you for telling stories that make me want to go to the cinema.
Awesome, guys.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you so much. Right. Appreciate it.
How does the 70 look? Does it look cool?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it looks bonkers. But, you know, you got to, like, I don't know what's the last thing you watch. You know, the flicker, like, you got to get used to the flicker for a minute. It's wild.